Hi everybody, I'm Perry and these are the two backpacks I took with me to Patagonia in 2025. Inside is everything I needed for fly fishing, for pack rafting and for wild camping for my 7-week trip. So these are pretty big backpacks, as you can see. They were pretty heavy. The big one, this one underneath, that's a 85 litre backpack. And it weighs about 40 pounds, so decent weight. This one is a day pack. I don't know the exact size. I would say about 25 litres, and it weighed approximately 10 pounds. And obviously those weights were for everything I needed, excluding food that I bought locally when I went on the river. So for me, they were very heavy, but just about manageable. This video is about the fishing gear that I took with me. So I took 4 rods to be safe. First of all, in terms of dry fly, I have 2 of these. They're identical, 8-foot 4.5 dry fly rods made by Sanquois. I actually bought this one over 30 years ago in Missoula, Montana, and it has great sentimental value. I really like it. In fact, if I was to have my time again in terms of dry fly, I'd probably go for a slightly heavier rod, probably a 9-foot 5-weight classic rod. Some of the dry flies that are popular in Argentina are quite big, so that rod was just a little bit on the light side. Also, it can be quite windy in Argentina, so something a little bit heavier would have helped. So that's my rod for dry fly, and then the other one obviously is my streamer rod, and this was the rod that I used most of the time, to be absolutely honest, maybe 90% of the time. So this is actually what I've got now. I didn't actually, this is a new rod actually, a replacement rod for the rod that I broke when I was out there fishing in 2025. I don't know how well this one's going to work. I haven't used it, but we shall see. And I may actually end up getting a second 7-weight rod to be absolutely safe again, so that I have 4 rods. Because rods are light, and just the last thing you need or you want to happen when you're out there in the middle of nowhere in this beautiful place is for your rod or rods to break, and that has happened to me. So yeah, that's what I do. In terms of reel, I have this reel down here, which is the reel that I use with my dry fly rod. It's a 5-weight floating line, kind of budget floating line, and the reel is it's called a Redington Zero. Again, not particularly expensive, I think about $120 or something. I do like this reel. It is very light, incredibly light. It doesn't have drag, which I suppose maybe that's why it's so light, but I got used to that, obviously just using my hand for the drag. So that's the Redington Zero, and I don't have the reel with me that I used for my 7-weight streamer rod. It was borrowed from a friend. In 2025, I actually fished mainly with an intermediate line. The line then broke when I was there, and I bought a sinking line from a local angling shop in Junín de los Andes, and it's this one here, 250 grain sinking line made by Airflow, and I then tried it out actually on the Cojuncura, and it took a bit of getting used to. I'd not used a sinking line before. I found it just a little bit different in terms of picking it up off the water, obviously heavier, but I did catch fish with it. And I'd spoken to so many people in Argentina who'd said, yeah, you need a sinking line, you know, 250 grain or something like that to get right down to some of the fish which I was told were pretty low down in the water. So moving on now, I have over here my waders, and these are Vision, they're called Vision Icon, just nice, you know, fairly lightweight, breathable waders. You know, they cost a little bit of money, waders like this, but they were very nice. And my only observation, I suppose, is because, you know, the key to this really for me is getting your gear down to an absolute minimum. So the question is, do I need waders? Do I really absolutely need waders for a fishing trip like this when the temperatures, the outside temperatures in the sunshine on the riverbank could be 30, 35 degrees, really nice and warm. The water is cold in Argentina. The river's lovely, beautiful, clear, cold water. So I fished with these waders some of the time, and then some of the time I just fished with shorts. And then we have over here wading boots, and these are my wading boots, which I bought not that long ago, and they're called Vision. They're made by Vision, and as you can see, they've got they're rubber soles. They've got these gummy soles, and I bought them because of the new regulations in Patagonia. I'll just put them down. The new regulations in Patagonia, which came in fairly recently, banning felt soles. So I used to have felt-soled waders. In fact, the first time I went to Argentina in 2024, I had felt-soled wading boots, and they worked really well. They were providing me with a really good grip on the stony bottomed rivers, which is what I was mainly in. So this new rule came out, and I bought the new wading boots. Unfortunately, I struggled with them a bit. They just did not give me the grip I needed, and I was really sliding around quite a lot. I definitely will take wading boots with me, even if I don't take waders. They just kind of gave me support on my feet, and I needed something to change into. I typically just have, you know, like trainers. I had an old pair of trainers that I wear around the campsite, and then I put on my my wading boots for fishing. So it's just those soles which weren't ideal, but we'll see. I'm just not sure about that. So next is the important bit of kit, obviously my fishing bag. This waist bag I really like. Patagonia, I've had it for years and years, and I absolutely love it, to be honest. And I can fit everything else that I need in here. So let's have a look and see what I've got in there. I use these tapered leaders. These are 1X, and as you can see, I've got 3 of those. I then have 3 spools of fluorocarbon, and I've got it in 1X, 3X and 4X, so 3 of those. And then finally my fly boxes. I've got 4 fly boxes, which is probably too many, and I'll show you those in a minute. And then finally I have just the essentials really. Snips, I've got forceps, and I've got gink. So there we are. That's my fishing bag. So what about flies? I mainly use streamers, like these size 8 woolly buggers in green and black. They were quite cheap. I bought them on eBay, and they caught fish, but they basically fell to bits really quickly, so I'm not sure whether that was a good buy or not. These ones were very good as well. I think they're called Leonis. It's quite a popular fly in Argentina, and I bought them locally from a guy called Fabian, who makes flies himself in Neuquén, and I'll link to him below. He also actually made me these nice, quite large white streamers, which I tried on the Lemay. I didn't have any success, but I'm definitely going to try that one again. It's a nice looking fly, and again I heard them being recommended, so I'm going to try that one again. These are my dry flies for Patagonia. Most of them are quite big, but they do work really well, and a lot of them were given to me by guides and anglers on the riverbank, so I'm really grateful for that. I think if I had to pick one, it would be this beetle imitation, foam beetle. When I was on the Calliafu, there was this guy called Adrian who was catching some really nice browns on this fly, and at the end of the day he walked past me and gave me the fly and wished me luck, basically. I didn't actually have any luck on it, in fact, but I'm going to keep trying. I know those big foam beetles do catch good fish. These are my small dry flies and nymphs. I fished with a size 14 elk hair caddis on the Lemay. There were good caddis hatches most evenings, lots of rising fish, and they weren't easy to catch, but I did eventually catch one or two with a little size 14 elk hair caddis. I was given these bloodworms by a guide on the Chimoin back in 24 actually. I never actually fished with one of them, but I definitely want to give one of those a try as well. I was also recommended these green willow worm imitations for fishing on the Illuminae. I didn't see any fish rising to them when I was there, but I'm going to keep them in my fly box for next time. And my biggest fish was actually caught on a tiny size 16 pheasant tail nymph. That was on the Calliafu. I had my 8-foot rod and I caught that nice rainbow, which was very rewarding. So what's missing? Well, a net. I used to have a net. I used to have 2 or maybe 3, and I've lost them all in Patagonia. Again, I would say it's a nice to have, but maybe not essential. I prefer to have a net with me. I prefer not to handle the fish, but they're quite bulky and it's just another thing to have in your backpack. So in terms of nets, the jury's out. We shall see. So last but definitely not least is my fishing license, which I have on my phone. I bought an annual non-resident license online, which covers all rivers and lakes in Patagonia on the Argentina side, that's not Chile. For the 2026 season, the cost is about $200 US, and a 10-day license is about $100. And I've left a link below if you want to buy online, and you can do this before you travel. I've also left a link to a complete gear list below. I'm also going to be doing a few more of these videos about gear, a bit like this one, and I'm going to cover pack rafting, I'm going to cover camping and anything else essential that I took with me to Patagonia. So look out for those, and once again, thank you for watching.